But let's start with Giovanni. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Well, howdy. Good to see you guys again. So last week we started talking about Google Home and Siri, Alexa, and Cortana, and all the voice search appliances that are out there. And we got into primarily how they parse information a little bit, but really the biggest thing we got into is the fact that these are hyper-localized, typically hyper-localized searches on with the largest batches of searches that come through the devices. So outside of geography, which is hey, name of appliance, find me pizza near me. That appliance knows where you're at, either through a connection through your cell phone and GPS coordinates, or the fact that you've plugged in your home address. And that appliance, since it's not a mobile device, whenever you set that up, it knows that it's sitting at your office at work or at home, and so it knows proximity to do a search just around your office or your home, right? So we get all that, and we can talk a little bit about how you need to change or maybe enhance your online marketing to take advantage of that. The next thing that these devices are looking for are connections to entities. And so to give you an example, and this is, I'm a huge kind of classic rock fan, so this is my example. Apologies if it has nothing to do with any of the folks that listen to this show, but you'll get the point. So let's say that I go to one. I'm trying so hard not to say these devices' name to set them off. Let's say I go to the Google device, and I say, all right, name of device, who is Dave Davies? Well, if I say who is Dave Davies, and I'm Dave Davies, and I happen to be a guy that works at a financial institution, I would hope that maybe Google would pull me up. It's probably most likely that they're not, though. They're going to pull up Dave Davies from the Kinks, because that is probably going to be the most famous Dave Davies and the most relevant to everybody searching on that name that's out there. So we're not really concerned about whether or not it pulls up every individual Dave Davies in the world. We're worried about the entities now. So the way that this search works now is whenever I say who is Dave Davies, it's going to pull up a Wikipedia article or some latest news and give you a very short 1 to maybe 3 sentence bio about that person. Now, if I was searching on my desktop on the browser, if I type that into the search bar and hit enter, I could not go back up to the search bar and then type in what is the name of his band, because Google has no context on the desktop to know who he is. But in voice search, all of the devices understand context. And so after it's answered the question of who is Dave Davies, if you turn around and say, what is the name of his band, they will all come back and say the name of his band is the Kinks. So there's a whole different level of complexity and understanding. You could further go on and say, even after it's answered the name of the Kinks, without referring back to him, which was now 2 questions ago, you could say, when was his birthday? Because Google and all these devices understand that he refers to a person, not to the band, which is an entity. So it knows to skip over that last question and go to the first one and give you the birthday of the first question. And you can go pretty deep on that. You can ask, where was he born, and all this stuff, right? So first and foremost, whenever we are doing searches for businesses in these voice devices, and when you have a business that you want to rank for those things, you've got to think about producing content on your website that will literally answer questions in a conversational tone. So what I mentioned last week was what is old is new again. The biggest favor you can do for yourself is to re-implement, if you've taken it off since a redesign because people thought they were old and dumb, the good old-fashioned FAQ page. But the change you're going to make on your FAQ page is you're going to ask questions. You're going to phrase the questions on your FAQ page the same way that your customer or your client would be asking for you if they were looking for you. So instead of saying who is the best, or instead of the first one being something that refers to your company name in the question. So what kind of services does First Conglomerate Financial Services provide? You might want to ask a question like, who provides the best financial services? And then the answer should be phrased in a way that you would be answering that person directly, because what's going to end up happening as Google crawls through the internet, when Google hears that question, or when Apple does, when they implement search, when Yahoo and Microsoft do, they're going to be searching for the phraseology that comes through the voice into the device They're going to look for that on the internet. And if they can find an exact match, your chances of being used for the answer go through the roof, because then the system doesn't have to work hard to find the answer because they found it. Here's the question. Oh, here's an answer I can refer back to you, right?
Wow.
So you're going to have to develop a series of pages, and this is not rocket science, but it takes a little bit of effort where you're not phrasing things the way you normally would on your website.
Right.
All right. And then the next step of that is think about entities. When were we formed? And then you answer. What was the day of our blah, blah, blah? And then you answer, as opposed to always asking a new question every single time. So think about context in that way. Okay. The next thing you want to look at is what's the intent. In every time someone is out looking for something on, and we touched a little bit about this last week, the intentions on a voice search are almost always different than the intentions on a web search. Typically, people do web searches on the desktop or mobile device when they're somewhere high up in the sales funnel, and they're kind of doing investigation and they're doing research. When someone gets to a point to where they're asking a question, and I mentioned this last week, the conversion rates and the rates of people actually pulling out a credit card and making a purchase are 5 to 10 times higher than they are on desktop searches, right? Mm-hmm. So the intention is, I need this now, I'm ready to buy. So whenever you're doing this stuff, the answers on these pages need to direct people to a call to action or to some way for them to convert. Now, clearly they're not going to be able to convert through an FAQ page that's being spoken back to them, but you need to have answers on these FAQs that will say something like, the answer to this is blah, blah, blah. You put your answer down. If you need this service now, or in order to purchase now, go to, and then have a vanity domain name. Don't send them to companyname.com/purchase/renew/whatever. It needs to be buythisproductnow.com, and put your product in there. buysneakers.com, buyfinancialservices.com. One domain that rolls off the tongue, that people can remember, sticks in the back of their mind, so that when they're out of their car, because a lot of these people are doing searches in cars, they're on their phone, they're not necessarily, or if they're on the phone, then they can pull up a browser and quickly type it in. The shorter the domain, the better, but the domain needs to remind them that they're going somewhere to purchase something, right? What I'm going to do this time around, because you and I sit down and we start talking, and if you guys let me go, I would burn through the time until like 5 o'clock, right? And I've got a list of 9 things, and I'm on number 2 right now.
Okay.
This is what we're going to do this time, a little bit of change. I haven't even asked you about this, so I'm dropping this on you on the air.
Okay.
I'm going to post what the top 15 things are people need to do for voice search on the WFN.com website.
Great.
I'm sure there's somewhere on the website we can post that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll find
Because I don't want to go and drag this on and have 5 different weeks of me covering one topic at a time. I want to start something fresh next week. So that's the top thing, is thinking about people's intent and thinking about the fact that people are connecting entities to each other when you build your new web pages. And if you want to see some specific things to do outside of that, WFN1.com, go there. I'm going to have an article somewhere on there that will spell out exactly what you need to do for that stuff.
We'll make it obvious.
All right.
Thanks, Giovanni. Cool. All right, Giovanni Gallucci, you heard it. Follow us on all the podcasts, wherever you get them, and all the social medias. We're everywhere. Thanks for being here. As you've been listening to CEO Money with Michael Yorba, we'll be right back on the other side of this break with the Private Equity Spotlight and Ed Baxter.